Have you ever looked at a business dashboard where the revenue is double what it should be, or the total count is widely inflated? Usually when this happens, executives blame the reporting layer and the data analysts go ahead to blame the BI tool. But 9 times out of 10, the problem isn't the dashboard. It isn't the BI tool. The problem is the data modeling. Let's be specific here. Someone got a foundational decision wrong even before a single line of SQL code was ever written. In data engineering, we call this decision the grain. If you get the grain wrong, almost everything you build on top of your data warehouse architecture becomes difficult, misleading, or completely wrong. Today I'm going to show you exactly what grain is, how to define it, and why it is the most critical business decision in your entire data warehouse architecture. So, what is grain? In simple terms, grain answers one specific question. What does a single row in your facts table represent? Does it represent one completed order or one specific product inside that order? Does it even represent a single patient as in healthcare dataset? Or a daily summary of total sales? Does that sound simple? Well, this is where the problem starts. Grain is not just a technical configuration in your database. It is the business decision that strictly dictates what question your data should and should not answer. Now, let's look at the sales table. If one row represents one order, the grain is order level. Now, this is great for answering questions like, how many orders did we get today? What is our average order value today or for the month? At this level, this is fantastic. But what if the sales director comes up and asks you a question like, which specific product generated the most revenue this week? Now, suddenly, this table becomes useless. And this is because we don't have the product level details. To be able to answer this question that the sales director asked you earlier, we have to drop down to a lower level of grain. And this lower level is called order item level. Now, with this, one row becomes one product inside an order. And with this, we can easily analyze basket composition, product performance, and even the exact quantity ordered. So the question is never which table is better. Instead, the question should be what specific decision does the business need to make? And here is where the massive and expensive mistake happens. A common trap is whenever you get a business request to build a dashboard, you jump straight into creating columns and calculating KPIs before defining the grain. Every metric in your table must align with the grain. If your grain is order item level, then quantity sold makes perfect sense. But if you accidentally store the total order amount on every single product row, you have disaster. When a BI tool sums up the row, you are suddenly reporting 3 times the revenue you actually made. That is not a BI issue, and that is a modeling issue. Alright, here is the golden rule I use whenever I build my projects. Before you ever build a facts table, you must be able to complete this exact sentence. One row in this facts table represents, does it represent one order line? Or does it represent one website click? Does it represent one patient? If you cannot complete this sentence clearly, you are not ready to build the facts table. In this case, you need to go back to the business process and have a clear understanding of the decision that has been made. Now, something that is worth taking note of is that lower grain gives you more details. However, it comes at a cost. It increases your storage cost, your compute, and your processing time. So that whenever you're making a decision for any grain, you have that in mind. At this point, the right grain is the lowest level of details required to answer that particular business question without engineering unnecessary complexity. Alright, this is the first part of our 5-part series on mastering grain in facts table. In the next video, we are going to look at a real-world retail data so you can see how this impacts the SQL queries you write and your entire data pipeline. Alright, we're going to stop here. If you got value from this video, come on, give it a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. And if you're new to this channel, come on, what are you waiting for? Subscribe. We talk about real things that you will need in your place of work. And for businesses, these are the things that you need to make important business decisions. And don't forget to share it with your friends so that they will enjoy what you are enjoying. Until I see you again, please keep analyzing.